Chapter 1. I'm coming home on the 1st of next month. I typed and deleted the words over and over again. After a few rounds of hesitation, I, Chloe Hawthorne, finally sent the text. I didn't dare to call, afraid my parents would notice the despair in my voice. A little while ago, I had snuck a look at Ethan Vance's phone. After I entered the passcode, it prompted an error. I thought I might have mistyped the numbers too quickly, so I carefully entered it a second time, but the phone remained locked. My lips drooped slightly. I tried our anniversary, our birthdays, every significant date I could think of, but nothing worked. Suddenly, a thought struck me. Biting my lip, I typed in the birthday of Serena Rivers, the one that got away, his old flame. With a crisp click, the phone unlocked, and my heart sank to the bottom of my stomach. After unlocking it, I saw that our photo together, which had been his screensaver, was also gone, replaced by a picture of a vast grassland. I recognized that photo. It was the place where Ethan and Serena had gone on their first trip together. After a moment of internal struggle, I opened his chat with Serena Rivers. The dense log of messages stung my eyes. "It's getting cold, remember to wear more layers. I ordered you a hot ginger tea. Drink it while it's warm, the rain is too heavy. I'll pick you up tonight." Though there were no explicitly inappropriate words, the concern practically overflowed from the screen. The chat background was even a sweet photo of the two of them. I then opened my own chat log with him. It was a blank slate. No history, no background picture. As clean and empty as if we were strangers. I suddenly felt pathetic. The model couple everyone envied was, behind closed doors, a complete sham. I placed the phone back where I found it. Before the screen could dim, Ethan walked into the bedroom, fresh from his shower. Seeing the lit-up phone screen, he looked a little uncomfortable. "It's a new phone, just got it today. I haven't had time to change the screensaver yet." I didn't say anything, just nodded silently. It was indeed a new phone, new enough that he had only migrated his chat history with Serena Rivers. New enough that the password and screensaver were both related to her. I didn't understand. I was the one who had been with him through his toughest times, so how had I become an outsider watching their love story unfold? After turning off the lights, we slept with our backs to each other. We hadn't been intimate since Serena had returned to the country. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. The past flashed through my mind like a slideshow. In college, I often tutored in my spare time. One night, class ran late, and as I walked down an alley, I was followed by a stranger. I quickened my pace, but the person behind me kept up. Just as I started to run and scream for help, he caught up and pinned me to the ground. Despair and terror flooded me all at once. I sobbed, begging him to let me go, but his hand had already unfastened the top button of my shirt. Just then, Ethan appeared like a god-like figure, charging forward with a wooden stick. He didn't hesitate, even though the man was twice his size. After driving him off, he gently draped his jacket over me. In that moment, Ethan seemed to be bathed in a golden light, so bright I could hardly open my eyes. I wanted to get his contact information to thank him, but he just said he was in a bad mood and needed to blow off some steam, and that he didn't need my thanks. When he walked me to the school gate, we were surprised to discover we went to the same university. Later, as we grew closer, I learned more about Ethan's story. Serena, his high school sweetheart whom he was supposed to start dating after graduation, had gone abroad without a word. Ethan had tried countless ways to contact her but failed, falling into a deep depression. And then, as everyone knew, he met me and saved me. Over time, I gradually developed feelings for this boy. On my 5th confession, he finally accepted me. I was ecstatic. I thought I had helped him move on from his emotional turmoil and had finally won a place in his heart. I truly believed we would be happy like this forever. But starting last month, he suddenly changed. He became cold, distant, and stood me up time and time again. I had assumed it was because he was busy and overworked. Then, I accidentally found out from a mutual friend that his old flame, Serena, had returned to the country last month. Everything became painfully clear. Just as I was lost in these memories, Ethan's phone rang, its chime jarring in the silence. The old Ethan would mute his phone at 9 p.m. every night, not wanting to be disturbed while sleeping. But at some point, he had switched it back to ring mode. He was probably afraid of missing a call from Serena. I quickly closed my eyes and feigned sleep. Ethan glanced at his phone, then at my sleeping form, and tiptoed out to the balcony to take the call. He didn't close the door. His voice was low, but I still heard him clearly. "What? How could Serena suddenly faint? Where are you guys now?" A long silence followed. A few minutes later, Ethan spoke again, his voice hushed. I wasn't thinking much back then. I thought Serena and I were impossible, and since it wasn't Serena, it didn't matter who it was. His voice grew quieter, and I couldn't make out the rest. So that was it. He had accepted me back then only because I happened to show up when he was at his lowest, because I was good to him, and because he found me acceptable enough. The foundation of our relationship wasn't love. It was just convenience. After hanging up, Ethan stood by the bed for a long time, his face hidden in the shadows, his expression unreadable. The next second, he gently placed his hand on my head, but I pretended to turn over in my sleep, avoiding his touch. With the soft click of the front door, Ethan, who had never gone out at night, left the house. At that moment, I could no longer control my emotions. I buried my face in the covers and sobbed until my voice gave out. My swollen, red eyes seemed particularly desolate in the darkness. After wiping away my tears, I made a decision. I would leave this place for good. I would not be anyone's backup plan. Chapter 2. The next morning, after I had washed up, Ethan still hadn't returned. I sat by the French window, picking at the bag of cookies I had opened last night. They had gone stale in the humidity, and were soft and limp in my mouth. Below, the morning market was bustling with life, a vibrant scene of comings and goings. I felt completely out of place, a world away from the cheer. As I was spacing out, Ethan walked in, carrying breakfast. The moment our eyes met, he noticed the cookies in my hand and instinctively asked, "Why are you eating that for breakfast?" I quickly crumpled the cookie bag in my hand, not wanting him to see my vulnerability. "Just a little something. Where have you been?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking uncomfortable. "I went for a run. I'm going to take a shower first. I bought you breakfast." As he passed me, I caught the strong scent of women's perfume on him. I looked forlornly at the breakfast on the table, sweet tofu pudding and steamed corn. After staring at the bag for a long moment, I opened the container of sweet pudding. I took one bite and my brow furrowed. I had never liked sweet things. When Ethan came out of the shower, he saw that the breakfast on the table was barely touched. He glanced at me, my expression unreadable, and asked, "Why aren't you eating? Don't you like it?" I didn't look up at him, just traced the grain of the wooden table with my fingers. "I'm not hungry." Suddenly, I remembered that we were supposed to go look at formal wear for the engagement today. Even though I had no intention of getting engaged anymore, I had already made an appointment with the shop assistant and couldn't just stand them up. If not a gown, I could at least buy a few other outfits. "Do you have plans later?" "We have an appointment to look at gowns today." Ethan paused, the towel in his hand stilling. "I can't make it today. I have an important meeting at the office. Some other time, maybe?" I nodded slightly, saying nothing. Suddenly, my phone screen lit up. A large countdown timer on the screen caught Ethan's attention. He looked puzzled. "What's happening in 30 days? You even set up a special countdown for it." I flipped my phone face down on the table. "I have an important project report. I'm afraid I'll forget." Ethan didn't doubt me. In his mind, Chloe Hawthorne never lied. He simply nodded and went into the bedroom to get his clothes. "I have to get to the office. I'll head out now." With the heavy thud of the door closing, the apartment felt suffocating. A light rain began to fall outside. I opened the window, letting the cool droplets wet my face. I couldn't tell if the dampness on my cheeks was from the rain or from my tears. I wanted to start packing, but I didn't know where to begin. There were couples' items everywhere, countless pieces of furniture, appliances, and little trinkets we had collected. Just a month ago, I had been thinking about whether we should get a bigger place after we got married. After all, one day, we would have a baby of our own. But Ethan never participated in these conversations. He would just say that it was all up to me, that I should just buy whatever I thought was best. From the very beginning, I was the only one who had been invested. To Ethan, it didn't matter who I was or what I did. After all, I wasn't Serena Rivers. Taking a deep breath, I sprang into action, listing everything I had bought for the apartment on an online marketplace. I didn't want any trace of myself left in this home after I was gone. Chapter 3. I'll be home soon. I glanced at the text from Ethan but didn't reply. He had been using the excuse of being busy at work and hadn't been home for days. The sound of the lock turning came from the door. When he entered, I noticed he was carrying a gift box. He held it out to me. "Chloe, open it. See if you like it." Puzzled, I opened the box. A beautiful pink dress lay inside. The exquisite embroidery, paired with delicate pearls, was captivating. "I managed to stop by that boutique today," he said. "The gown you had your eye on still isn't in stock, so I bought you this instead. What do you think?" In the past, receiving a gift from him would have made me jump for joy. But now, I just felt a strange tightness in my chest. "I like it," I said. Seeing my subdued reaction, Ethan was about to say something when his phone rang. He glanced at me. "It's work. I need to take this." With that, he turned and went into the study. Meanwhile, I picked up the tablet on the coffee table and started watching a show. A moment later, a notification popped up at the top of the screen. Thinking it was from my own messaging app, I tapped on it. Only after opening it did I realize it was Ethan's alternate account. My throat tightened. I took a few deep breaths to control myself. The message was from Serena Rivers. "Ethan, this gown is gorgeous. Thank you." The picture attached was of the very gown I had been waiting for, the one the shop assistant had said was one of a kind. I had imagined myself wearing it countless times, and now it was on her. The dappled light fell on my face, making my already pale lips look even more bloodless. With trembling hands, I tapped into their chat history. As the messages loaded, my heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst from my chest. It wasn't that they had only gotten back in touch when Serena returned last month. They had been communicating through this alternate account for a year. "It's fine, she won't get angry. I don't have very deep feelings for her anyway. If it's not you, it doesn't matter who I marry." At that moment, I finally understood. I was just a pawn in their game of flirtation. Ethan Vance was truly a first-rate actor. While I was naively dreaming of our future like a clown, he was busy lavishing attention on another woman, and I had never noticed a thing. Suddenly, a sense of resignation washed over me. Since this happiness was never meant for me, I might as well say goodbye with grace. I calmly set the tablet aside and continued to gaze out the window. When Ethan emerged from the study with a smile on his face, he found me staring out the window, my eyes slightly red. "What's wrong? Are you upset?" "No, it's just windy by the window. Something got in my eye." "I see. How about I cook lunch? What would you like to eat?" He seemed to be in a genuinely good mood to be offering to cook. I thought about it. It had been a long time since Ethan had cooked. Once I left, I wouldn't have another chance to eat his cooking. I might as well have it one last time. I'd like chestnut chicken and pork rib soup. "All right, I'll get right on it." He paused, then added, "It's windy by the window, come sit over here. Don't catch a cold." He walked over to close the window, but as his hand touched the handle, he froze. It was perfectly still outside. Not even a leaf was stirring. Where was the wind? But he didn't dwell on it. He tied on an apron and prepared to cook. Just as he did, his phone rang again. His fingers tapped restlessly on the countertop, his dark eyes filled with conflict. After hanging up, he gave me an apologetic smile. "Chloe, something came up and I have to go out. I'll be back in half an hour to cook for you. I had a feeling that I wouldn't be eating that meal today. Go ahead." With my permission, Ethan untied his apron as if granted a pardon. As he was putting on his shoes at the door, ready to leave, I called out to him again. A flash of anxiety crossed his face. It was clear how desperately he wanted to leave. "What is it?" he asked. He was worried. Worried I would change my mind and not let him go, or that I would insist on going with him. "You forgot your phone." Ethan hadn't expected that to be the reason I called him back. A blush crept up his face, and a ripple of guilt spread through his heart. He took the phone from me stiffly, muttered, "Right," and turned to leave. After he was gone, I went to the balcony and saw him walking away. His steps were light, a smile playing on his lips, like a boy rushing to meet his love. I returned to the living room and called my friends. Since I was leaving, I had to see them one last time. "Chloe, aren't you getting engaged next month? Why are you treating us to dinner again?" one of them asked. I smiled faintly. "The engagement is off for now. I'm moving back home soon, and I don't know when we'll see each other again." They were all a bit surprised, not understanding the sudden change of plans. They asked tentatively, "Did you and Ethan have a fight?" I looked down, thinking for a moment. "No, it's just been interrupted by other plans." But let's not talk about that. Tonight, let's just have a good time and drink. They didn't suspect any real trouble between us, so they didn't press further. I hadn't had a drink in a long time, and after just a few glasses, my stomach was churning. On my way to the restroom, I ran straight into Ethan and Serena Rivers. The moment our eyes met, the atmosphere became unbearably awkward. Chapter 4. Ethan stammered, trying to explain. Serena is my secretary now. I brought her to a work event. I just nodded, my gaze falling on the gown Serena was wearing. It was the very one I had my eye on. Around her neck was a dazzling diamond necklace, studded with numerous precious pearls. I recognized that necklace too. Last month, Ethan had given me earrings from the same collection. I had wondered then why it was a standalone gift. Now I knew. The necklace was here, with Serena. I wanted to say goodbye, but I couldn't suppress the wave of nausea any longer. I rushed into the restroom and retched violently. Afterward, I gently touched the earrings, the ones that matched Serena's necklace. I leaned against the sink, my mind racing. A moment later, I swiftly took off the earrings, gave them one last deep look, and threw them into the trash. Outside the door, Ethan saw my state and frowned with a hint of concern. Serena, however, just pressed her lips together tightly, staring at Ethan without a word. When I came out of the restroom, I found Ethan still waiting by the door. I raised an eyebrow in confusion. "Why are you still here? I'm waiting to take you home." The words came out of my mouth almost instinctively. "You're taking me? What about her?" Ethan was driving a sports car tonight. It couldn't possibly fit 3 people. At my question, Ethan's eyes darted around as if trying to decide between us. Seeing his indecision, I waved a dismissive hand. "I came with my friends. Someone will take me home. You should take her." With that, I turned and walked back to our private room. Ethan stared blankly at my retreating back, feeling that something about me had changed. I didn't seem to care about him as much anymore. 2 hours after I got home, Ethan finally returned. As soon as he walked in, he pulled out another beautifully wrapped gift. "Chloe, happy 5th anniversary." I was surprised. So he hadn't forgotten what day it was. I opened the box and found a necklace. It was identical to the one he had given me for my birthday last month. Not seeing the expected look of surprise in my eyes, Ethan asked cautiously, "What's wrong? Don't you like it anymore?" "I like it. Let me put it on for you." "No, that's okay." Faced with my curt refusal, Ethan's hand, holding the necklace, froze in midair, unsure what to do. "It's late. We should get to sleep." "I won't wear it now." Ethan forced a smile. It was the same when he gave me the dress. She was rejecting his gifts. He suddenly remembered the gown Serena was wearing tonight. He struggled to explain, "Chloe, that gown was an accident. I didn't know Serena was trying it on. By the time I saw it, I realized it was the one you wanted. But the sales assistant said it was the only one, and I figured you wouldn't want to wear something someone else has worn, so I—" Before he could finish, I cut him off. "It's okay, it's just a dress. You don't need to explain so much." Seeing me like this, Ethan had so much he wanted to say, but the words got stuck in his throat. After a few seconds of silence, he said in a low voice, "I'm going to take a shower then." As the sound of the shower started, my phone rang. It was my mom. "Chloe, honey, when are you coming home? Your father and I bought a lot of your favorite foods, and we even got you a new set of sheets." Hearing my mother's voice, my suppressed emotions finally found some release. I smiled and said, "I won't be back for another 20-something days. Isn't it a bit early to be buying things now?" "Not at all, not at all. Every time I see something, I want to buy it for you." "What time does your flight land? I'll have your dad clear his schedule to pick you up." I thought for a moment. "Around 5 p.m., I think. I'll also be packing some things to mail back over the next few days. It's not convenient to travel with too much stuff." Suddenly, a voice cut in from behind me. "Where are you leaving to?" Chapter 5. I didn't want him to know I was leaving, so I immediately hung up the phone. Meeting Ethan's questioning gaze, I said flatly, "The company is sending me on a business trip for 2 months. I'm just mailing some clothes ahead of time, so I don't have to carry so much." My tone was perfectly natural, betraying no hint of a lie. Hearing that I was going to be away for 2 months, Ethan's expression was a mix of emotions. There was concern, but also a hint of joy, and the flicker of reluctance was quickly washed away. He must be happy. My being gone for 2 months would give him and Serena ample time together. He nodded, not questioning the truth of my statement. "Well, you need to take care of yourself. I'll take you to the airport when it's time." "Okay." With a soft chime, a social media notification popped up on my phone and the screen lit up again. Countdown, 25 days. Seeing the bright red numbers, a strange feeling stirred in Ethan's heart. "That countdown of yours," before he could finish, I interrupted him. "You're done with your shower already?" "No." Ethan held up the bath towel in his hand. "I came out to get this." The interruption made Ethan forget what he was about to ask. Hearing the water running in the bathroom again, I decided to tidy up the apartment. After all, I was leaving soon. When I saw the photos on the wall, my memories came flooding back. The entire wall was covered with pictures documenting our travels over the years. There was a super cool photo of us standing on a snowy mountaintop, but in reality, we were nearly in tears by the time we climbed up there. We posted the beautiful picture on social media with the caption, "The world is vast and beautiful," but privately, we both agreed we would never go back. Right after graduation, we accidentally wandered into an expensive restaurant. We exchanged a look and quickly made an excuse to leave without any awkwardness or pretense. We ended up buying grilled sweet potato noodles from a street vendor. Ethan had looked me seriously in the eye and promised he would give me the best life possible. I immediately took out my phone and captured the moment. Time would pass, but the photo would remember that moment of love and connection. Looking at the photos, I chuckled softly. All those beautiful moments felt like they had just happened yesterday, but I knew in my heart that there was no going back. When the sun rises, no one looks at the stars. It was in that moment that I realized Ethan no longer stirred any emotion in my heart. He was like an ordinary friend, nothing more. When Ethan came out of the bathroom, he saw me staring blankly at the photo wall. He froze for a second, realizing he hadn't taken me on a trip in 2 months. We had once promised that, no matter how near or far, we would go see the world every month, even if it was just to a small town. A pang of guilt washed over him. He quietly walked up behind me. "Are you free this weekend? How about I take you to Oakhaven?" I thought about it. Late March was the peak season for cherry blossoms in Oakhaven. Let it be one last trip before we part ways. So I nodded and agreed. On Saturday afternoon, we arrived in Oakhaven. A vast expanse of cherry blossoms came into view, bringing a contented smile to my face. I heard my own inner voice. The world is much wider than you imagined. Beside me, Ethan was also captivated. It felt like a long time since he had seen me smile like that. Soon, the ringing of a phone shattered the brief tranquility. Ethan frowned at the screen and hung up. "Whose call was that? Why didn't you answer?" Ethan forced a reassuring smile. "Spam call, it's nothing." On the way to the hotel, I could clearly feel that Ethan was preoccupied, but he didn't want to talk about it, and I didn't ask. Finally, we reached the hotel. After putting down the luggage, Ethan spoke with difficulty. "Chloe, I might have to go back. Something's come up with Serena, and there's no one there to help her." Before he could finish, I cut him off. "Yes, I understand. You should go." In that instant, a flurry of emotions crossed Ethan's face. Shock, confusion, and a hint of suppressed pain. I was also curious. This was the first time he had brought up Serena's name so openly. It seemed we had an unspoken agreement to never mention her. Except for the incident with the gown, this was the second time. Ethan spoke again. "Hiring Serena as my secretary, I should have discussed it with you first. That was my mistake, but I hope you can understand." My hands, which were unpacking, paused, then I smiled, a sense of release in my expression. "Actually, you don't have to tell me all this. It's your company. You're free to hire whoever you want." I meant every word without a trace of insincerity. Ethan gave me a long, deep look. "I'll be back in 2 days, wait for me." Chapter 6. Ethan broke his promise. Not only did he not return after 2 days, but even on the day we were scheduled to go back, he was nowhere to be seen. When Ethan left, I had already anticipated this outcome, so I was completely calm now. For the past 7 days, I had visited many places on my own and discovered that traveling didn't have to be a 2-person activity. I could wake up whenever I wanted, without having to cater to someone else's preferences. When I found a place I liked, I could sit down and enjoy it at my own pace. I talked to the locals, experiencing different cultures and ways of life. I thought to myself, I had found the true meaning of travel: to get to know the world and to understand myself. On the high-speed train back, I saw that my countdown had started with a 1. I gazed out the window at the rice paddies. 15 more days, and I would say goodbye to everything here. When I got home, I found the apartment exactly as I had left it. A photo frame I had knocked over in my haste was still lying on the floor. I understood immediately. Ethan hadn't been back. After putting down my luggage, I began to pack and ship the items I had sold. Ethan rarely ate at home, so the appliances were barely used and sold for a decent price. There was so much to do. It took me 4 full days to mail everything out. Looking at the suddenly empty apartment, I felt a little lighter. I opened my phone. The big number 10 greeted me. Starting tomorrow, it would be single digits. Just as I sat down to get ready for a shower, the lock clicked. Ethan's tired face appeared before me. The moment he saw me, he instinctively asked, "You're back so soon." I took a sip of milk from my cup before speaking slowly. "Soon? I've been home for a few days. We only planned a 1-week trip." At that, Ethan hurriedly took out his phone to check the calendar. He stammered, "Chloe, I got back and realized I couldn't finish everything in 2 days. I tried calling you to let you know I'd be late, but your phone wouldn't go through. I couldn't reach you. Then I got too busy and forgot. I'm so sorry. When did you call me?" "The day after I left." I remembered. I was hiking in the mountains that day. The signal was probably bad, so I didn't get any notifications. But if he had genuinely wanted to contact me, he would have found a way. When we first started dating, we had a small argument, and in a fit of anger, I blocked his number and messaging app. I thought he wouldn't be able to find me. But Ethan relentlessly sent me emails, wrote letters for my roommate to pass on, and even sent me private messages on a music streaming app. He used every method he could think of, even resorting to the university's public confession page. I was both amused and annoyed, and in the end, I forgave him. Our love back then was pure and beautiful. But now, a few phone calls were all he tried, without even a follow-up text. Lost in thought, I realized how quickly time had passed. 6 years had flown by in a flash. Seeing my silence, Ethan thought I was angry and continued, "Don't be angry, Chloe. It's my fault. You can punish me however you want." I shook my head. "It's okay, it's in the past." With that, I stood up and headed to the bathroom to shower. Ethan opened his mouth, but in the end, said nothing. As soon as I entered the bathroom, my phone rang. Ethan picked it up to give it to me, but the ringing stopped abruptly. The glaring countdown reminder appeared on the screen once more. As the clock struck midnight, he watched the 2-digit countdown turn into a single digit. Ethan had a nagging feeling that this countdown had something to do with him. He frowned, but couldn't figure out the connection. Maybe he was just overthinking it. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, I stared at the running water, lost in thought. I knew that nothing was really wrong with Serena. My social media feed had shown me a post from her. Whenever I need him, he'll be by my side. The accompanying picture was of Ethan busy in a kitchen. The chestnut chicken and pork rib soup that I never got to eat had appeared on Serena's social media. I pursed my lips. What was this? A transfer of affection? I clicked on the post and went to Serena's profile. I saw she had posted twice in a row. "What's mine will always be mine. I will win him back." At that, I understood everything. Serena had deliberately taken Ethan away from me to assert her dominance. Perhaps Ethan knew nothing was wrong with Serena, but he couldn't take the risk. He was afraid of missing his chance, so after much hesitation, he chose to go back to her. If Ethan had used his brain just a little, he would have realized it was all too coincidental. But he couldn't let go of Serena. So even if she wrote an obviously wrong answer on a test, he would still give her full marks with his eyes closed. That, I supposed, was the power of the white moonlight. Chapter 7. "Chloe, let's go see a movie next weekend." Huh, I thought I must have misheard. If I remembered correctly, we hadn't been to the movies in 2 years. Meeting my confused gaze, Ethan pursed his lips and explained, "That new comedy has great reviews. Just come with me to check it out." When I heard it was a comedy, I didn't refuse. I hadn't had much to be happy about lately, so a movie sounded like a good idea. Seeing me agree, Ethan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. It was strange, but for a moment, he had been afraid I would reject his suggestion. The days passed one by one. Watching the countdown get closer, a sense of anticipation grew within me. I had grown tired of this place. It wasn't until the weekend that Ethan showed up at home again. The countdown on my phone showed that today was the last day. Let this comedy be the finale to our tragic love story. The nearby theater was sold out, so we went to one further away. The moment the lights dimmed, I was completely absorbed in the plot. Ethan tried to start a conversation several times, but in the end, he didn't have the heart to disturb me. The last time we saw a movie together was in college. Back then, I would always lean in and whisper my complaints or comments in his ear. But this time, I sat there quietly, completely engrossed, as if he didn't exist. An hour later, Ethan finally couldn't help himself. "Is it good?" I nodded. "It's not bad. It would be even better if they had cast someone else, don't you think?" I raised a hand in a shushing gesture. "Just watch the movie." A mix of emotions churned inside Ethan. She had really changed. Halfway through the movie, Ethan excused himself to go to the restroom, but didn't return after 10 minutes. Worried he couldn't find his way back, I went out to look for him. Unexpectedly, I saw Serena Rivers around the corner. They stood facing each other, and Ethan's face was etched with anger. "It's so late. Who are you out watching a movie with?" "A colleague. We work on projects together a lot, so we're pretty close." Ethan glanced at the movie poster by the door. "A horror movie? I've told you not to watch horror movies. They give you nightmares. Can't you watch something else?" At this, Serena gently tugged his arm, her voice pleading. All right. You know how guys are, they love this stuff. I won't watch it again next time." Hearing she was out with a man, Ethan's anger flared up even more. "You're not allowed to go out to the movies with other men at night anymore. Don't you know how dangerous people can be?" Watching Ethan's anxious display, I just shook my head. He had never been this protective of me. Even when I had to go to work events late into the night, he would only say, "Be safe." The contrast was stark. I quietly returned to my seat and continued watching the movie. This little interlude couldn't affect my mood anymore. Not long after I returned, Ethan came back, his face still showing traces of his anger. I pretended not to notice and ignored him. Suddenly, the popcorn and soda on the armrest began to shake slightly. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but the next second, the power in the theater went out, and the shaking intensified. It was an earthquake. The crowd in the cinema erupted into chaos, and without a second thought, Ethan bolted for the exit. As I tried to leave, a falling chandelier crashed onto my leg. Sharp fragments pierced my skin, immobilizing me. Tears streamed down my face. But more than the pain, I was terrified of dying. I hadn't gone home yet. I didn't want to die in this lonely place. But everyone around me had already fled, and no one noticed me in the corner. I felt a wave of despair. What had I done wrong to deserve this cruel twist of fate? Fortunately, the tremor only lasted a few seconds and then stopped. Nothing else collapsed. I was still alive. Just as I was trying to calm my frayed nerves, Ethan rushed back in, his eyes wide with panic. "Chloe, are you okay? I forgot you were here with me. What a ridiculous excuse." But I didn't have time to blame him. I just wanted to get out of there. "My leg is cut. It's bleeding a lot. Help me get out of here so I can get it bandaged." Only then did Ethan notice the blood staining my lower leg. Chapter 8. Just as he carried me out of the cinema, ready to head to the hospital, Serena dramatically collapsed to the ground. "Ethan, thank goodness you got me out of there in time. Otherwise, I would have been the one who got hurt. I'm not as lucky as my dear sister. If I'd been hit on the head, I would never have seen you again." I looked at her with difficulty. There wasn't a scratch on her, yet she was putting on such a weak and helpless act. "Don't be ridiculous, you're perfectly fine," he said. "Ethan, my head hurts so much. Can you please take me home first?" Ethan hesitated for only a second before making his choice. He first helped Serena into the back seat, then hailed a taxi for me. "Chloe, you go on ahead. As soon as I drop Serena off, I'll come find you right away." Before I could say anything, Ethan stepped on the gas and sped away, the thick exhaust fumes making me feel nauseous. I took off my jacket and tied it around my lower leg, then silently got into the taxi. When the taxi stopped at a red light, I was startled to see Ethan's car right next to us. His brow was furrowed, and he kept glancing worriedly into the rearview mirror. As the red light counted down, I whispered to myself, "Ethan, after this red light, we're not going the same way anymore." The light turned green, and after about 500 yards, the two cars drove off in completely opposite directions until they were out of each other's sight. When I got home, I rummaged through the cabinets for iodine and gauze, only to find that the iodine had expired. I had no choice but to order medical supplies on a delivery app, but it seemed the delivery orders were unusually high today, and it took an hour to arrive. The moment the iodine touched the wound, I cried out in pain. But it was okay. Everything was about to end. Unsurprisingly, Ethan didn't come home that night. The next morning, when I opened my eyes, the countdown on my phone had turned to 0. Everything reset to 0. A new beginning. I couldn't turn back time, but I could choose to start a new life. I had mailed my luggage last night. By now, there was not a single trace of me left in the apartment. I looked at the photos on the wall again. These things had no reason to exist anymore. I tore the photos from the wall, ripped them all to shreds, and threw them into the trash. With the heavy thud of the door closing behind me, I left the place I had lived in for years, for good. From this day forward, our paths would no longer cross. Chapter 9. The next evening, Ethan returned home, his hands full of bags. The hallway light, which was usually on, was dark today. He felt a flicker of confusion, but still called out into the empty apartment. "Chloe, I bought you some medicine and spray. How are you feeling? Chloe, come on out and eat. I bought you pork rib soup." Only his own echo answered him in the empty room. The silence was so profound it was unnerving, making his heart race. He frantically flicked on the lights. The scene before him made him freeze on the spot, and the bags in his hands dropped to the floor. Chloe's slippers were gone from the entryway. The sofa was bare. Chloe used to love curling up on the sofa to read, and there was always a small blanket there, but now it was gone too. He felt a hollow ache in his chest, as if he had lost something vital. Then, he noticed a letter on the coffee table. He took a few deep breaths before opening the envelope. "Let's end it here. Don't look for me. Chloe Hawthorne, April 1st, he recognized her handwriting. This wasn't a prank." Ethan clutched the envelope tightly, the veins on his fist standing out. He didn't understand. Chloe had been acting completely normal. How could she suddenly leave? He reread the letter over and over, then let out a laugh. He remembered. Chloe had said she was going on a business trip and would mail some clothes ahead. As for the letter, it was April Fool's Day. She must be angry because he didn't come home last night. She had deliberately left this note to create the illusion of a breakup. She had pulled the same trick in college. As he thought about it, the knot in his stomach loosened. He didn't even bother to check the bedroom to see what was missing, so confident was he that Chloe could never leave him. But the emptiness of the apartment still unsettled him. He stared at the door, wishing Chloe would suddenly appear like she used to, laughing and saying, "See if you ever dare to make me angry again." But he lay on the sofa until he fell asleep, and Chloe never appeared. In a half-dreaming state, he answered a call from Serena Rivers. She was inviting him out to dinner, but for some reason, Ethan couldn't muster any enthusiasm. Serena sensed his mood. "What's wrong, Ethan? Did you and Chloe have a fight?" Ethan's voice was low. "No, she left, said she wanted to break up with me." Hearing this, Serena burst out laughing. "Oh, you know how girls are. They say the opposite of what they mean. She's just angry you didn't stay with her last night and ran away to make a point. Don't worry, she'll be back in a few days. Hasn't she run away from home before when you two were together?" Ethan thought back. It was true. She had used this tactic before during arguments. He had gone to great lengths to find her at a hotel near their home. "Yes," he admitted. "See, so there you go. There's no point in you moping around at home. Why don't you come out and clear your head? Maybe by the time you get back from dinner, she'll already be home." Hearing Serena's reasoning, Ethan reluctantly agreed. Serena chose a street-side food stall. She kept reminiscing about their high school days, how Ethan used to climb over the wall to buy her snacks, and how he would make excuses to walk her home. But Ethan was distracted. In the past, if Serena had asked him out, he would have been ecstatic. But now, with Serena sitting right across from him, all he could think about was the young girl who had shared grilled sweet potato noodles with him. His mind was in turmoil. The barbecue skewers, usually his favorite, tasted bland today. "Are these lamb skewers a bit salty?" Serena took a bite, looking puzzled. "No, they taste the same as always." Noticing his mood, Serena kept trying to make conversation, but Ethan just nodded, not saying a word more than necessary. After half an hour, he couldn't take it anymore. "I'm heading home. This one's on me. You should head back soon after you're done." Ignoring Serena's protests, he hailed a cab and left. His intuition was screaming at him. He had truly lost something. Somewhere along the way, without him even realizing it, everything had changed. Chapter 10. Back at home, he finally noticed that the photo wall, which had taken up half the living room, had been taken down by Chloe. Without even taking off his shoes, he stumbled into the room. Chloe used to love sitting in front of that wall, daydreaming and telling him stories about their past adventures. Back then, Ethan had found her a bit talkative. He had heard those stories so many times his ears were starting to hurt. But now, staring at the blank white wall, he wished Chloe would continue telling those wonderful stories. But all he had for company was the dim light of the room. The next moment, he saw the fragments in the trash can. He picked them up. They were the sweet photos of the two of them. By the time he realized it, tears were already streaming down his cheeks. Ethan kept murmuring to himself, "Chloe, why would you do this?" He quickly pulled out his phone, but the other end only played a mechanical voice. "The person you are calling is currently switched off." After the 20th attempt, he finally lowered his phone, defeated. Suddenly, he had a thought. The clothes, it had to be the clothes. If she was just angry with him, she wouldn't have taken all of her clothes. With trembling hands, he pulled open the closet, hoping to see it full of her dresses and shirts. But when he opened it, it was completely empty. They each had their own closet to keep their clothes separate, and Chloe's closet was now bare. The only things left were the pink dress he had given her and the two identical necklaces. Ethan stared blankly at the two necklaces. Each came with a card. One was from her birthday, the other from their 5th anniversary. The two occasions were only a month apart, and he had given her two identical gifts. He slapped himself hard across the face. A bright red handprint immediately appeared, a stark and painful sight. No wonder Chloe's expression had been so strange that day. So this was why. He had put so much of his energy into Serena that he had completely neglected Chloe. But he still clung to a sliver of hope. Maybe she had just hidden the clothes. She had done that before. She would hide all her clothes in his closet and then pretend she had run away. With that thought, he rushed to his own closet, but it was filled with his own clothes. No matter how many times he searched, he couldn't find a single one of Chloe's things. The truth was staring him in the face, but he still couldn't believe it, still kept making excuses for himself. Who would break up on April Fool's Day? It had to be a joke. As for her things, maybe she had left them at a friend's place. After running away so many times, she must have gotten smarter, learned to make the act more convincing. With that, he called one of Chloe's friends. The moment the call connected, he asked impatiently, "Wendy, it's me. Has Chloe been to see you?" "No, why?" "Nothing." Ethan hung up abruptly and called her other friends. But one by one, he got the same negative answer. His heart sinking, he dialed the last friend on his list. The words he heard on the other end sent his heart plunging into an abyss. "Chloe? She should be home in Haverton by now, right? Didn't she tell you?" Ethan froze, unable to believe what he was hearing. When Ethan didn't respond, the friend continued. "Hello, can you hear me? Chloe also said the engagement was canceled. Wasn't that something you two decided on together?" Ethan covered his face in agony. A few seconds later, he managed to croak out, "No, I didn't know." The voice on the other end was confused. "That day, she treated us all to a meal. She said she was going home and that the engagement was off for now due to some circumstances. She seemed fine, so we didn't ask too many questions." "Which day was that?" "I think it was March 17th. Ethan racked his brain, trying to remember March 17th. He remembered. That day, he was with Serena. He had broken his promise to cook her chestnut chicken and pork rib soup. He had even run into her at the restaurant. She had been so sick, and yet he had still chosen to take Serena home first. And to top it all off, he had later given her an identical necklace. After thanking his friend, he hung up. He turned on all the lights in the apartment again and saw that all the small kitchen appliances were gone. Those were all things Chloe had gradually bought. He used to complain about her buying all these frivolous things, but now that they were gone, he finally understood. A home is made up of these small things. It was he who had failed Chloe's sincere heart. At last, he fully woke up to the reality of the situation. Chloe had been planning to leave him for a long time, and he, a complete fool, had been oblivious. 6 years of love finally crumbled to dust in this moment. Wiping the tears from his eyes, he picked up his phone and dialed another number. Chapter 11. April in the north was still chilly. Stepping out of the plane, the air was filled with a familiar scent. Chloe Hawthorne knew it was the smell of home. She took a deep breath and broke into a radiant smile. After graduation, she had given up the idea of returning to her hometown, choosing instead to stay with him in a small southern city. From then on, her hometown had only ever been a place she visited in the winter. Chloe's parents, David and Linda Hawthorne, had been waiting at the exit for a long time, holding a large banner and flowers, afraid she wouldn't see them. The moment she saw her, Chloe's mother, Linda, immediately teared up, murmuring, "Chloe, how did you get so thin?" "Mom," seeing them on the verge of losing control, Chloe's father, David, quickly changed the subject. He pretended to be angry. "What, you only have eyes for your mother? You can't even see your old dad? I swear, you're such a little turncoat." His words instantly made Chloe burst into laughter. She playfully linked her arm with her father's, swinging it back and forth like she did as a child. "Of course not, Dad, you're my favorite." The three of them left the airport, laughing and chatting all the way. Gazing at the familiar yet changed buildings on the street, Chloe felt a momentary daze. Her hometown had changed so much. When they got home, Chloe saw that the table was already laden with food, still steaming hot. She looked at her parents, confused. "This food looks like it was just made." Then she peeked into the kitchen, and there she saw her grandma. Chloe let out a squeal of delight. "Grandma, what are you doing here?" Her grandma was the person who doted on her the most. No matter what delicious food was in the house, she would always save some for Chloe. Half of her childhood memories were made at her grandma's house. Looking at her grandma's increasingly stooped figure, another tear rolled down Chloe's cheek. She truly owed her family so much. All right, no crying. Grandma heard from your mom that you were coming back, so I rushed over from my place. Come and taste, see if Grandma's cooking has changed." The table was filled with all her favorite dishes. Her family always remembered what she liked. At the dinner table, Linda asked, "Chloe, how many days are you staying this time? Weren't you preparing for your engagement? Why did you come back alone? Where's young Mr. Vance?" "Yes, why are you alone? Have you and Ethan decided where to hold the engagement ceremony? No matter where it is, your mom and I will support you. If you need anything, just tell us. We'll get everything ready for you." Chloe lowered her head, quietly pushing the rice around in her bowl. She didn't want to worry her parents with her relationship problems, but she couldn't keep hiding it forever. Most importantly, she didn't know how to bring it up. Her parents had been against her staying in the South. After all, she was their only precious daughter. But Chloe's love for Ethan had won out. She had constantly told her parents how wonderful he was, and after much persuasion, she had successfully stayed. Unfortunately, she had been wrong about him, and life hadn't turned out as planned. If her parents knew, they would be heartbroken. Seeing Chloe's silence, David and Linda quickly sensed that something was wrong. They asked cautiously, "Did you have a fight with Ethan?" Chloe nodded. After a long struggle, she finally told them the truth. "Mom, Dad, Grandma, Ethan, and I broke up." Her voice was flat, devoid of any emotion, making it impossible for her parents to tell if she was sad or not. Seeing their worried expressions, Chloe let out a small laugh. "It's okay, you don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. I'm just sorry I let you down." After understanding the whole story, her father clenched his fists in anger. "That scoundrel, Ethan Vance, he better not let me see him, or I'll beat him up every time I do." Linda tugged at his sleeve. "The child is right here. Why are you getting so worked up?" Then she turned her gaze to Chloe. "You silly girl. You've always been your father's and my pride and joy. How could you ever let us down? It's just a failed relationship, not the end of the world. There will be someone better waiting for you." Chloe's grandma also chimed in. "So what if you don't get married? Grandma has money. Grandma can support you for the rest of your life, no problem." Chloe was so moved by this that she burst into tears, the emotions she had suppressed for so long finally pouring out. Just as everyone was frantically trying to comfort her, Linda's phone rang. It was an unknown number. The moment she answered, Ethan's voice came through. "Auntie, it's Ethan. Chloe, she..." Before Ethan could finish, Linda hung up. "Who was that?" her husband asked. Not wanting the call to upset Chloe, Linda made up an excuse. "Spam call, don't worry about it." After dinner, Chloe had a wonderful, long sleep, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. Chapter 12. On the other end, Ethan stared at the disconnected call, stunned. He remembered Chloe's mother being very kind to him, always asking about his health and his career. When he and Chloe argued, she would even help mediate. But this time, why had she hung up so decisively? He figured it must be because she didn't recognize his new phone number. He had to call from his own phone. But this time, the call was hung up before it even connected. Ethan still tried to console himself, thinking maybe she was busy and would call him back later. But he waited a whole afternoon, and there was no return call from Linda. After a moment of reflection, he finally accepted the reality. Chloe's mother was no longer on his side. He was now all alone. Then, his eyes fell on a location pin in his chat history. He had called Chloe's younger cousin, who didn't know about their fight. Under the pretext of wanting to surprise Chloe, he had managed to get her family's address. It didn't matter if it was 3,000 kilometers away. Even if it were 30,000, he would go and bring Chloe back. Ethan sat motionless on the sofa where Chloe used to sit. She always loved to curl up there, reading or watching TV, and would wait up for him no matter how late, so they could go to sleep together. Even though he had told her many times to go to bed first, she never listened. She said she couldn't sleep without him beside her. But now there was no trace, no scent of Chloe here. The sofa was cold, devoid of any warmth. By the time he realized it, his eyes were wet with tears. He admitted it. The moment Serena returned, he had wavered. He had been torn between two women and had chosen Serena time and time again. Whenever Chloe invited him to do something, he would always say, "Next time." He thought he had endless chances, that Chloe would always be there waiting for him whenever he turned around. Lost in thought, Ethan's consciousness began to blur, and soon he collapsed onto the sofa, asleep. In a dream, he saw Chloe standing at the door with her suitcase, glaring at him. "Ethan Vance, do you dare to abandon me like this again? If you ever dare to break my heart like this again, I will never forgive you." Ethan immediately tried to stand up and promise her that he was wrong, that he would change. But the next second, he was jolted awake as he fell off the sofa. He struggled to his feet and looked at the door. It was empty. Even the motion sensor light hadn't turned on. A huge sense of loss washed over him. Chloe hadn't come back, and she might never come back. He covered his face, and tears streamed through his fingers. He couldn't wait any longer. He immediately bought a ticket for the next flight to Haverton. He believed that as long as Chloe saw his sincerity, she would forgive him for his past mistakes. Opening his phone, Ethan was shocked to find that he didn't have a single picture of Chloe in his gallery. He opened their chat history and found only robotic messages like, "I'm coming home tonight," or "You don't need to make dinner for me." He tried to find evidence that Chloe still loved him, but the chat history ended on the day he got his new phone. He froze, realizing he had never migrated his chat history with Chloe. Ethan felt a surge of self-blame and regret. The next moment, his gaze fell on the torn photo fragments in the trash can. This was the only thing Chloe had left him. He picked up all the photos and, piece by piece, glued them onto a sheet of white paper, then trimmed the edges neatly. He worked until the next morning to complete this enormous task. He placed all the photos in his suitcase and headed for the airport. Chapter 13. Perhaps due to her recent exhaustion, Chloe slept for a full 15 hours before waking up. When she woke, she saw a text from her cousin. "Cousin Chloe, I'll be waiting for you at Moonlight Bay, private room 5, at 6 p.m. I want you to meet my boyfriend. Don't tell anyone, okay?" Chloe smiled. Her cousin was her uncle's daughter, only 2 years younger than her, and they always shared secrets. As she was about to leave, her parents came home from work. "Where are you going, Chloe?" "A friend invited me out to dinner. We're having a get-together." Seeing Chloe's happy expression, David and Linda exchanged a smile. They had been worried that she was just pretending to be carefree for their sake, but now it seemed she had truly moved on. "Go on, have fun. Be safe." When Chloe arrived at Moonlight Bay, she called her cousin, but there was no answer. After a moment, she asked the hostess for the location of the private room, deciding to go in and wait. As she entered the room, Chloe was stunned by the scene before her. Fresh roses covered the entire floor, creating a dreamy, romantic atmosphere. Dim candlelight and countless balloons made her feel, for a moment, as if she were in a trance. This wasn't a place to meet a boyfriend. This was clearly a marriage proposal. She quickly took out her phone, planning to record the romantic moment. But as she turned around, a familiar figure appeared before her. Ethan Vance, dressed in a sharp gray suit that made him look even more mature and composed, was holding a large bouquet of roses. Chloe instinctively took 2 steps back, her face a mask of astonishment. "What are you doing here?" It didn't take her long to figure it out. It wasn't her cousin who had invited her. This was all Ethan's doing. She blamed herself for not telling her cousin about the breakup sooner. Ethan walked towards her with a look of deep affection, but it only made Chloe frown. "Don't come any closer. Whatever you have to say it from there." Seeing her cold, distant attitude, Ethan looked hurt. "Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Why did you leave without a word?" Chloe almost laughed. He knew better than anyone why she had left, and now he wanted her to give him a reason. "If you don't love someone anymore, you break up. Do you need a reason for that?" Ethan's face darkened. "Don't love me? Chloe, we were together for 6 years. You think you can just dismiss me with a casual, 'I don't love you anymore'?" Chloe rubbed her temples. She hadn't expected Ethan to be so persistent. She had wanted a clean break, but now it seemed that wasn't possible. After a moment's thought, Chloe launched into a tirade. "Fine, you want a reason? I'll give you a reason. You have a secret messaging account, and you've been in contact with Serena Rivers for a year. Am I right?" Ethan became anxious. "There's a reason for that. I can explain." Chloe didn't want to hear it. Her voice hardened. "I don't want reasons. You just need to tell me, am I right or wrong?" Ethan looked down in shame, then said in a barely audible voice, "Right. You stood me up countless times to be with Serena Rivers, right?" "Right. During the earthquake, the first thing on your mind was Serena's safety, right?" "No, I was just panicking and my head was a mess." Chloe shook her head, unwilling to argue the point further. "You got together with me just to fill the void Serena left. Then, she came back and you started wavering. I can't tolerate sand in my eyes, and I can't tolerate it in my relationship. Since you couldn't choose me without hesitation, I don't want this relationship anymore." She paused, then continued. "Ethan, my love for you has been completely exhausted. It's true that I loved you. It's also true that I don't love you anymore." Chapter 14. Ethan stood like a scolded child, head bowed, silent. After a few minutes, he slowly looked up, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. This was the first time Chloe had ever seen him cry. "I know I was wrong. I know I didn't give you a sense of security. But I swear, I never cheated on you. I never did anything to betray you. Please, can you forgive me?" His voice grew smaller, ending in a choked sob. "Ethan, cheating isn't just physical, do you understand? We're really over. I hope you'll stop bothering me with these childish games. I don't want to make this ugly. Let's end it with dignity." With that, she pushed past him and headed for the door. Just as she stepped out, Ethan called her name. "Chloe, wait, look at this." Ethan pulled back a cloth on the wall, revealing dozens of photos. She took a step closer and saw that they were the photos she had torn up. He had glued them all back together, but it was a futile gesture. "I've seen them. Can I go now?" Chloe's tone was impatient. Ethan hadn't expected this reaction. He thought she would be moved, that she would soften for even a moment. But now, all he saw on her face was calm indifference. He started to panic. "Chloe, I know you only tore these up because you were angry. I stayed up all night gluing them back together. These are our beautiful memories. Have you forgotten?" A flicker of hesitation crossed Chloe's face, a barely perceptible emotion that instantly ignited a spark of hope in Ethan. "Chloe, I knew you couldn't bear to part with our relationship. Come back with me and we'll live a good life. We still have to get engaged and we'll have a baby one day." Chloe held up a hand, cutting off his torrent of words. "I don't feel sentimental. I just feel regret. I shouldn't have thrown them in the trash. I should have burned them." Ethan was stunned for a moment. "What did you say?" "I said I should have burned them, not thrown them away. Then you couldn't use these photos to deliberately torment me. Wake up. This is all in the past. Even if you've glued them back together, the cracks are still there, just like our relationship. It can never go back to the way it was. Besides, I've already moved on. You're free to pursue your true love now. I wish you happiness." Before Ethan could react, Chloe had vanished from his sight. Chapter 15. Ethan collapsed into a chair, Chloe's words echoing in his mind. Pursue your true love. When Serena first returned, he had felt a rush of joy, a sense of having recovered something lost. But he quickly remembered he wasn't single anymore. He had Chloe. His sense of morality made him hesitate for a moment, but only for a moment. He quickly found an excuse for himself. He was just meeting an old friend, catching up on the years they'd missed. Besides, they had been secretly in contact for a year, hadn't they? If nothing out of line had happened in a year, a simple meeting wouldn't hurt. But that one meeting had completely tipped the scales in his heart. Serena had tearfully told him that her departure had been forced upon her, a family decision she couldn't defy. But now she was financially independent, in control of her own life, and she hoped to rekindle their relationship. Ethan had so many questions. Even if she had to go abroad, she could have told him. He would have waited. Why did she leave without a word? But seeing her tear-streaked face, his heart softened. He pushed down all his questions and offered only comfort. For countless nights, he had agonized over the choice between the two women. One was the unobtainable love of his youth, his white moonlight, who had left him through no fault of her own. The other was the one who had appeared when he was at his lowest, the vermilion mole who had been with him for 6 years, from college to his professional life. In the end, he had thought, let's just leave it be. He couldn't solve the problem, so he would let time solve it for him, let time give him the answer. But the moment Chloe actually left, he was hit with a wave of unprecedented regret. He suddenly saw his own heart clearly. His feelings for Serena were more about his unwillingness to accept defeat, his indignation at being the one who was abandoned. Chloe was the one he truly loved. Unfortunately, he had been lost in a fog, unable to see his own heart. He had been inexplicably confident that Chloe would never leave him, that she would always be there, just a glance away. But the outcome was the complete opposite of what he had expected. He shot to his feet. He had to go back. He had to go back and make things clear with Serena, to sever all ties for good. Leaving the restaurant, Chloe felt the weight on her chest finally lift. She had held those words in for too long, and now she had finally said her piece. If she wasn't mistaken, she had seen a look of overwhelming regret in Ethan's eyes. But it was too late. From the moment she left, she never had any intention of looking back. Chapter 16. As soon as Ethan got off the plane, he received a call from Serena Rivers. "Ethan, where have you been these past few days? I couldn't reach you. I had some personal matters to attend to." His cold attitude made Serena uncomfortable, but she patiently asked, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" "No. Are you still angry about Chloe?" "I told you, it's just a young girl's tantrum. If you ignore her, she'll come back on her own in a few days. If I were her, with such a wonderful boyfriend, I would cherish him, not throw random fits." Hearing Serena's words, Ethan's voice rose unconsciously. "Don't talk about Chloe behind her back." On the other end of the line, Serena's eyes widened. She couldn't believe Ethan would snap at her for another woman. Just a few days ago, he had rushed to her side during the earthquake. How could he have changed so much? Composing herself, Serena probed further. "Did Chloe Hawthorne say something to you?" "She didn't say anything." Serena clearly didn't believe him. "Impossible. She must have bad-mouthed me for you to treat me like this." Ethan let out an exasperated sigh. It was only now that he realized how vast the difference between the two of them was. Chloe would never be like this, maliciously speculating about others behind their backs. After a few seconds of silence, Ethan said, "Meet me at City West Garden in an hour." With that, he hung up. After the call, Serena felt an irrepressible surge of joy. As a woman, she understood what Chloe's departure meant. Since she had voluntarily withdrawn from the relationship, Serena couldn't be blamed for what came next. Serena rummaged through her closet until she found a long white dress. In high school, Ethan had said he loved seeing her in a white dress. After applying some light makeup, she hurried out the door. As soon as she arrived at the garden, Serena saw Ethan's lonely figure. He was sitting alone on a park bench, gazing at the lake. The sunlight stretched his shadow long, adding a touch of solitude to the scene. She ran up to him. "Ethan," hearing her voice, Ethan turned around. The gentle breeze lifted the hem of Serena's dress, and her face was lit with a radiant smile. For a moment, he was in a daze, as if he had returned to the innocent days of high school. But he quickly snapped back to reality. It was all in the past. People had to move forward. Seeing Ethan's expression, a bad feeling rose in Serena's heart. For some reason, she felt that Ethan had changed. "Serena, we shouldn't contact each other anymore." As soon as the words left his mouth, he met Serena's confused gaze. What do you mean, we shouldn't contact each other anymore? Our relationship isn't a purely platonic friendship, so it's better if we don't stay in touch. Serena became anxious. She leaned forward and gripped Ethan's arm tightly. Didn't you tell me to give you some time? Didn't you say you didn't have deep feelings for her? You lied to me. Ethan shook his head wearily. I didn't lie to you. I thought I didn't have much feeling for Chloe, but then I realized I had already fallen for her. I just hadn't noticed it myself. Serena felt as if her ability to think had been completely shut down. His words made her feel like a clown. Ethan, you love me. Chloe Hawthorne is just a replacement. Did you really take her seriously? Wake up seeing Serena's frantic state, Ethan didn't comfort her as he usually would. Instead, he continued to say what he needed to say. Serena, I've thought about it for a long time. I always thought what I felt for you was love, but now I understand. It wasn't love. It was unwillingness to accept defeat. The truth is, you could have told me you were leaving for another country, but you didn't. In your heart, I wasn't that important either. His voice broke, and he let out a self-deprecating laugh. Maybe I was just your best option at the time, which is why you came looking for me, not because of love. Serena exploded with rage. His words were too blunt, too difficult for her to accept. Ethan, do you have any idea what you're saying? Then what was all that time we spent together? Ethan stared blankly at the clouds in the sky, his mind elsewhere. I don't know. With a sharp crack, Serena's hand struck Ethan's face. Chapter 17. Serena herself was startled, staring blankly at her own hand. The next second, she panicked and apologized. I didn't mean to, Ethan. I was just too emotional. Are you okay? She reached out to touch his face, but he dodged her. Ethan said, his face expressionless, if it makes you feel better, then hit me. This completely terrified Serena. Although Ethan was right, she had been selfish when she left back then, thinking she had better prospects abroad and looking down on him. Her feelings for him weren't entirely manipulative. She did love him. After all, youth leaves a deep mark on one's life. She composed herself and softened her tone. Ethan, she already broke up with you. Get a grip. How am I any worse than her? We could have a wonderful future together, too. Don't you remember? You said in high school that you would marry me after we graduated college. Ethan gave a bitter smile. That was just childish talk from our school days. It can't be taken seriously. As the words left his lips, a tear slid from the corner of his eye. He closed his eyes in pain. You're not her. I don't want to marry anyone but Chloe. Serena was struck as if by lightning, finding it hard to breathe. Ethan had said something similar to her before. He had said that if it wasn't her, it didn't matter who he married. But now he was saying he wouldn't marry anyone but Chloe. At that moment, she understood clearly. The person on Ethan's mind now wasn't her. It was Chloe. Suddenly, Serena let out a cold laugh. So what if you can't let her go? Does she want to get back together with you? I highly doubt it. Her words deeply wounded Ethan, who had just been rejected. Stop it. Seeing his reaction, Serena became even more certain of her suspicions. She mercilessly tore away all pretense. If you truly loved her, you wouldn't have wavered between the two of us. And if she were willing to take you back, you wouldn't be here right now, would you? She's already moved on. You're the only one still stuck in the past, clinging to a hopeless fantasy. Serena's words were like knives stabbing into his heart. He had to grab the back of the bench to steady his swaying body. Ethan hadn't slept for days, and his already exhausted body felt even weaker now. He struggled to his feet. Are you done? If you're done, I'm leaving. From now on, we don't need to contact each other again. Let's just pretend we never met. Watching Ethan's resolute back as he walked away, Serena screamed at the top of her lungs, Ethan Vance, don't you regret this? But Ethan didn't pause for a second, quickening his pace to leave. His heart was firm. Even if he couldn't win Chloe back, he wouldn't regret the decision he was making right now. Chapter 18. Chloe had been unusually busy lately. Her dream had always been to open a flower shop in her hometown and live a peaceful life, not to burn herself out in a big city. She had painfully given up her dream back then, but thankfully, she had come to her senses in time. She handled the location selection and decoration of the flower shop all by herself. Her parents, David and Linda, were a bit worried seeing her work so hard. Chloe, you can take more breaks before starting work. Your father and I can support you. You've been so tired these past few days, you've lost all the weight in your face. Linda's worry was palpable. She only had one daughter, and it broke her heart to see her push herself so hard. "Mom, Dad, you don't need to worry about me. The flower shop has always been my dream, so of course, I have to put my heart into it. How can I get tired doing something I love? I couldn't be happier." Seeing her enthusiasm, Linda didn't have the heart to interrupt her. "Well, your dad and I are going to the supermarket now. Will you be home for dinner tonight?" "Yes," after Chloe's sweet reply, David and Linda left, looking back every few steps. Watching her parents leave, Chloe felt an indescribable happiness in her heart. Her parents were by her side, and she had a career she was passionate about. This must be the best state of life. She felt full of energy. 2 weeks later, the flower shop, named Spring Post, successfully opened. Relatives and friends sent many bouquets, and the entrance was bustling with activity. Chloe kept thanking everyone, her face beaming with excitement. Linda whispered to David, "Look at Chloe. She must have completely moved on from the past. After being together for so long, I was always worried she was suffering inside." David stroked his chin thoughtfully. "From what I know of our daughter, she's definitely moved on. It's not like he's the only man in the world. Our daughter is so wonderful, she certainly won't be wallowing in lovesickness." Hearing David's words, Linda finally felt at ease. She didn't need her daughter to find a good man and get married. As long as she was happy, she was willing to have her live at home for the rest of her life. What Chloe didn't expect was that the flower shop would receive a huge order on its opening day. What? 20 bouquets of calla lilies and tulips? After getting confirmation, Chloe was completely stunned. Calla lilies were expensive this season. It was incredible that a customer would order so many, but she quickly smiled. "All right, I'll wrap them. A big order on the first day of business means things will only get better from here." To Chloe's surprise, her words came true. In the week since the opening, there were large orders every day. Flowers like orchids and peonies were constantly in high demand. She paid closer attention and noticed that none of these orders had a specific apartment number. They were all delivered to the same residential complex, but with no specific address. A suspicion arose in her mind. Could it be a competitor? But why would a competitor buy so many flowers? The next day, when another order alert came in, she decided to go see for herself. The delivery driver left the flowers at the designated spot and left. Chloe hid behind a large pillar, wanting to see who was placing all these orders. But after waiting for a long time, no one came. Just as she was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared. It was Ethan. Chloe hesitated for a few seconds. She had thought that after what she had said last time, he would have given up. Why was he here again? Seeing how familiar he was with the routine, he must have been doing this for a while. What about his company? Suddenly, Chloe felt she was being too concerned. That was Ethan's business. What did it have to do with her? She quietly left the complex and returned to the flower shop, then blacklisted his order account. She didn't need his charity. Chapter 19. As usual, Ethan was about to order a few bouquets to decorate his apartment when he found he couldn't make a purchase. He logged out and back in, turned his phone off and on again, but after several attempts, it still didn't work. He grew anxious, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Was there something wrong with Chloe's shop? He frowned in thought for a moment, then logged in with another account. To his surprise, he found that he could place an order with this account. Had Chloe figured it out? He felt a wave of dejection. After all this time, was she still unwilling to have anything to do with him? Ethan's gaze fell on the wall in his living room. He had bought identical frames, and Ray hung the photos he had pieced back together. Every time he looked at those photos, a wave of guilt washed over him. The fine cracks were a constant reminder of the pain he had caused Chloe. Ethan ran a hand through his hair in frustration, then went to the balcony for some air. He wanted to see Chloe right now. After getting dressed, he left his apartment. Before he even crossed the street, he saw a crowd gathered in front of Chloe's flower shop. And Chloe was standing at the entrance, her face filled with anxiety. He ran across the street, pushed through the crowd, and came face to face with her. For a moment, their eyes met, and a complex mix of emotions flowed between them. Ethan knew this wasn't the time for explanations. He asked urgently, "What's wrong? Why is there such a crowd?" Chloe, also focused on resolving the issue, said anxiously, "Someone is claiming we used inferior flowers, but I checked all of them. There's no way there's a problem." Someone in the crowd grew agitated. Then see for yourself, aren't these flowers from your shop? The leaves are all yellow, and you still dare to say they're fresh. And mine, the petals are all wilted. Do you think 200 only buys this garbage? Your shop is too high and mighty. The voices in the crowd grew louder, showing no intention of backing down until the matter was resolved. Ethan raised his voice. Everyone, please calm down. You have to give us some time to sort this out. Turning to Chloe, he asked, are all these flowers from your shop? Chloe nodded. They were just taken from our shop, but the staff confirmed they were all in good condition when they left. It's only been 10 minutes, and now they're saying the flowers are faulty and want a refund. Don't you have security cameras in the shop? Chloe shook her head. We were going to install them tomorrow, and then this happened today. A troubled expression crossed Ethan's face. He glanced at Chloe, then at the rowdy crowd. After a moment of internal struggle, he made a decision. He took out his phone and pulled up a video feed of the flower shop's entrance from the last hour. The video showed several people buying flowers, then sneaking into a nearby alley to swap out a few stems and deliberately crush the leaves. After seeing everything, he dialed the police. Someone is causing trouble at the Spring Post flower shop on Clear Creek Road. After he hung up, the troublemakers panicked. We just want our money back. Why did you call the police? Ethan sneered. I think you're professional scammers, aren't you? The troublemakers' eyes darted around. Perhaps confident that there were no cameras in the shop, they grew bolder. Call the police. Who's afraid of who? It's your flowers that are the problem. The police arrived quickly. When Ethan showed them the security footage, the police arrested the troublemakers for disorderly conduct. They were completely dumbfounded. Where did that footage come from? Chloe was just as dumbfounded. There was a security camera outside her shop. How did she not know? The interrogation results came out quickly. It turned out that a rival flower shop, seeing how well Chloe's shop was doing and feeling that she was stealing their business, had come up with this scheme to ruin her reputation. The truth was finally revealed, but Chloe's heart was a tangled mess of emotions. Chapter 20. She stared at Ethan, unsure whether to question him or thank him. After a moment's thought, she decided to thank him first. After all, he had helped her out of a major crisis. Without the surveillance footage, the flower shop's reputation would have been ruined. Thank you. Faced with Chloe's sudden thanks, Ethan was at a loss. He even choked on his tea, his face turning bright red. A few minutes later, he recovered and mumbled that it was nothing. As he turned to leave, Chloe stopped him. When did you install the camera? Are you spying on me? Ethan knew he couldn't avoid it. He lowered his gaze and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz, I'm sorry. I'll take the camera down right away. I saw you working late every night and I was worried about you, so I wanted to install a camera secretly. I was wrong. Chloe was angry at his behavior. If the shop hadn't run into trouble today, would she have been living under Ethan's surveillance indefinitely? This time, I'll pretend nothing happened. I don't want there to be a next time. Ethan nodded repeatedly like a chick pecking at grain, then turned to leave. He didn't dare to stay any longer, afraid Chloe would tell him to go. But what was bound to happen happened. Don't waste your efforts on me. I don't know when you came here, but my mind won't change. There's no possibility between us. Ethan gave a bitter smile. Can't you just give me one last chance? Just let me pursue you again. Chloe turned her head away, refusing to look at him, but Ethan wouldn't give up. I swear. Before he could finish, Chloe cut him off. Ethan, swearing is the most useless thing in the world. All vows are only valid the moment they are spoken. The rest of the time, it all depends on one's conscience. Chloe's voice was soft, as if she were talking to herself as much as to him. Haven't you made enough vows to me? And yet, we still ended up here. Hearing this, Ethan was plunged into deep memories. He had once sworn that he would never make Chloe sad, that he would never betray her. When they first got together, Chloe had worriedly asked him what he would do if his old flame suddenly returned. At the time, he had blurted out without a second thought, "It doesn't matter who comes back. You're the only one for me." But later, all his vows had been like bubbles, beautiful and fleeting, disappearing into thin air. I'm sorry. Ethan didn't know what else to say besides I'm sorry. All the pain he had caused Chloe was a fact. Chloe waved her hand wearily. You should go. I don't want to hear those 2 words anymore. Ethan wanted to say more, but when he met Chloe's cold gaze, the words died in his throat. Chapter 21. Life went on peacefully for a month. Ethan didn't come to the flower shop to see Chloe again. Just when Chloe thought her life was finally settling down, another storm brewed. A woman wearing a baseball cap walked into the shop. Chloe greeted her warmly. "Hello, ma'am. What kind of flowers are you looking for today?" The woman didn't speak, just kept her head down, browsing the flowers. Chloe patiently followed her. "If you have something specific in mind, I can make a recommendation." Then, the silent woman finally spoke. "Can you tell me what kind of hussy tricks you used to make Ethan Vance so obsessed with you?" At her words, Chloe's brow furrowed. When the woman looked up, Chloe finally recognized her. It was Serena Rivers, Ethan's old flame. Chloe's face instantly turned cold. "You're not welcome here. Please leave." But not only did Serena not leave, she let out a sarcastic laugh. "Ha, you really are a cunning one. Playing hard to get, breaking up with him to make him feel guilty. Why didn't I learn that trick from you? How about I give you some money and you teach me?" Hearing this, Chloe, who had been angry, suddenly raised an eyebrow. It seemed Serena had been rejected by Ethan and had gone to great lengths to find her. "Your sarcastic remarks won't hurt me in the slightest. Believe it or not, Ethan and I have completely broken up. If you like him, then go after him. Whether you succeed or not is your business, not mine. But looking at you, it seems you didn't succeed, did you? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here trying to make my life miserable." Serena gritted her teeth in anger. Chloe was right. She was resentful after being rejected, so she had pulled many strings to find Chloe's address. Since she was miserable, she couldn't let anyone else be happy. She brushed some dust off her sleeve and sat down at a nearby table. "You probably don't know this, but we were in contact a year before I even came back to the country. He only stayed with you out of pity. A year ago, on your birthday, he left in the middle of dinner, claiming he had a work emergency and didn't come back for a whole week, right?" Seeing Chloe's silence, Serena smiled triumphantly. "It wasn't a work emergency. He came abroad to find me. I called him and said I missed him, and he immediately dropped you to be with me. That's how important I am to him." Chloe frowned. She remembered that incident. At the time, she had been worried for a long time, wondering if there was some unsolvable problem at his company that took so long to handle. It turned out he had gone to be with his old flame. But these words, these events, could no longer hurt her. Seeing Chloe's silence, Serena thought her plan was working. She was afraid Chloe would get back together with Ethan, so she deliberately said these things to disgust her. "And those designer earrings he gave you. Actually, the whole set necklace and earrings was originally for me, but I felt sorry for you being kept in the dark, so I let Ethan give you the earrings as a gift." She paused, as if thinking. Suddenly, she clapped her hands, a mocking smile on her face. "At the restaurant that day, I think I saw you wearing those earrings. It seems you still treasure them like some kind of prize." Just as Chloe was about to retaliate, a furious voice came from the doorway. "Serena Rivers, how did you find this place? What did you say to Chloe?" Chapter 22. Both women turned to see an enraged Ethan Vance standing at the door. He strode in and grabbed Serena's wrist fiercely. "Wasn't I clear enough? I told you we shouldn't contact each other anymore. What are you doing here?" Serena's face was filled with resentment. She yanked her hand free. "Didn't Chloe Hawthorne break up with you? You still followed her here. Why is it that when you tell me not to contact you, I can't come here? Ethan Vance, don't be such a hypocrite." Looking at Serena's crazed expression, Ethan felt as if he had never truly seen her before. "Fine, I won't argue with you. You need to leave this place right now, or don't blame me for getting rough." Hearing this, Serena shot back defiantly. "Go ahead, I'd like to see what you can do." Enough. Chloe had seen enough of this drama. "If you want to fight, take it outside. Don't disrupt my business." Seeing Chloe angry, Ethan immediately stepped forward, his voice softening. "Chloe, I wasn't deliberately following you, nor was I spying on you. I remember what you said. I was just passing by and saw what was happening, otherwise I wouldn't have come in to bother you." Chloe rubbed her temples. At this point, she didn't want to ask why he was here. "I don't care why you're here. I just want to know if you can give me some peace." Chloe's displeased expression stung Ethan deeply. If he had held onto any hope that she still had feelings for him, this moment completely shattered it. A person's eyes don't lie. In Chloe's eyes, he was now completely insignificant. Ethan clenched his fists, forcing down the bitter ache in his heart. After a long pause, he nodded, his eyes red. "I understand, Chloe. but Ethan's submissive attitude only enraged Serena further. She grabbed his shoulders and spun him around to face her. "Ethan Vance, have you no shame? She doesn't love you anymore, and you're still shamelessly fawning over her. You didn't cherish her when she loved you, and now that she doesn't, you're desperately trying to win her back. It's disgusting." Serena's eyes were red. It was hard to tell if it was from anger or sadness. After her outburst, she let go of him and took a few steps back, laughing hysterically. "You like her, don't you? You love her, don't you? Let's see how you can protect her." With that, she rushed into the street and threw a handful of photos from her bag into the air. "Look everyone, the flower shop owner is seducing other people's boyfriends and has taken countless private photos with them." It was rush hour, and the street was crowded. A large group of onlookers quickly gathered. Inside, Ethan and Chloe froze for a moment, then rushed out. When Chloe picked up the scattered photos, she saw that the person in them was indeed her. From the angle, it looked like Ethan had taken them. But they weren't private photos, just pictures of her in summer clothes. Seeing them come out, Serena grew bolder and raised her voice. She pointed a finger at them. "Do you see them? This is the scummy couple. This girl looks so innocent, but she's done everything behind closed doors. She's so young and already owns such a big flower shop. She must have slept with a lot of bosses to get the money." The uninformed passersby were quickly swayed by Serena's words and began to murmur among themselves. "She is very pretty. Could she really have gotten the money by being a homewrecker? Yeah, flower shops aren't that profitable these days. Isn't she afraid of losing money with such a big shop? I bet she just opened it as a front to launder her sugar daddy's money." As the crowd's comments grew uglier, Chloe calmly called the police. Instead of getting trapped in a cycle of self-defense, it was better to let the slanderer produce the evidence. The police arrived quickly, in less than 5 minutes. After some questioning, it was clear that Serena had no substantial evidence. Everything was just empty talk. Seeing the situation turn, the onlookers quickly changed their tune. "I've bought flowers here several times. The owner is very nice. This young lady is so young and already spreading such vicious rumors. Yeah, using someone's reputation to make a scene. This girl is just awful. Disperse, disperse, stop crowding around here," the police officer ordered. The crowd finally began to scatter. In the end, Serena Rivers was detained for 5 days and fined $500 for public insult and defamation. Chloe personally watched her delete all the photos from her phone before the police took her away. The incident was finally over. Chloe sat down wearily on a chair, her eyes closed, her thoughts unreadable. Chapter 23. 10 minutes later, Chloe opened her eyes and asked, "Those photos, did you give them to her?" Ethan quickly waved his hands. "Not me, how could it be me? No matter how much of a jerk I am, I would never do something like that. She must have gone through my phone and saved those photos." I'm so sorry, Chloe. I didn't know she would do something like this. It's all my fault. I failed to protect your privacy." Chloe sat up straight, her gaze sweeping over Ethan with extreme indifference. "You should be glad there was nothing particularly explicit in those photos. If they had been leaked, do you have any idea how much damage it would have done to me? I know, it's all because of me. It's all my fault." Just as Chloe was about to say more, her parents, David and Linda, arrived at the shop. As soon as they entered, Linda rushed over to check on Chloe. "Let me see, are you hurt?" Seeing her mother's anxious face, Chloe smiled and guided her to a nearby chair. "Mom, I'm fine. See, I'm perfectly okay. You and Dad don't need to worry about me." "How can we not worry? The moment we heard there was trouble here, your dad and I drove over immediately. Thank goodness you're okay. Otherwise, I would have fought that person to the death. How can there be such a wicked person, coming out of nowhere to spread such vile rumors about someone?" Chloe didn't want to tell her parents that the troublemaker was Ethan's old flame. She feared that if she did, things would get even more out of control. She just smiled and said nothing. Only after calming down did David and Linda notice Ethan sitting to the side. They had only seen him on video calls before. This was the first time they had met in person. Seeing their gazes fall on him, he stood up awkwardly and greeted them. "Uncle, Auntie." Since Chloe had left without a word, Ethan had lost his appetite and sleep, quickly losing a lot of weight. He looked like a different person. Linda just stared at him for a moment, and then a thought seemed to strike her. As the atmosphere grew silent again, Ethan tactfully stood up to leave. I should go now. Chloe didn't stop him, nor did she reveal his identity. After Ethan left, Linda sent David out to buy groceries, while she herself followed Ethan. Once she was sure they were far enough from the flower shop, she called out, "Young man?" Ethan stopped at the sound of her voice and turned to see Chloe's mother. He was a little stunned, then stammered, "Auntie, can I help you?" Linda looked Ethan up and down, then slowly said, "You're young Mr. Vance, aren't you?" Ethan hadn't expected to be recognized and could only nod awkwardly. "Auntie, can I talk to you for a moment?" Ethan nodded. "The place I'm renting is nearby. Why don't we go up and talk?" There weren't many other places to talk nearby, so Linda accepted his suggestion. As soon as she entered the apartment, Linda saw the photo wall in the living room. Although she had never been to Chloe's home in the South, she had seen it often during video calls, so she was familiar with the layout. And now, the apartment Ethan was renting was decorated almost exactly like their old home. He was unwilling to accept a new environment, constantly trying to numb himself. As long as the layout was the same, it still felt like home, as if Chloe had never left. Chapter 24. After Linda sat down, Ethan asked nervously, "Auntie, is there something you wanted to talk to me about? You and Chloe were together for 6 years. 2 months before she came home, she was excitedly telling me she wanted to get married. She was planning to bring you home to meet us first, then get engaged. We trusted Chloe's judgment and could see that she was very happy at the time. But then she said she wanted to come home. At first, I thought she was just homesick, but then I found out you two had broken up. Chloe wouldn't say why, and we didn't press her. What I didn't expect was that you would actually move to the north for Chloe. With this level of dedication, you two shouldn't have broken up. Even a fight wouldn't cause such a big scene. So I have reason to suspect that the reason for the breakup was that you cheated, am I right? And if I'm not mistaken, the girl who caused trouble today was the person you cheated with, wasn't she?" Ethan panicked. Although most of what Linda had guessed was correct, he hadn't cheated. "Auntie, I didn't cheat on her." Hearing this, Linda looked at him with a puzzled expression. "Then who was that girl today?" "She was someone I liked when I was younger." Linda nodded with understanding. She got it now. "Young Mr. Vance, your uncle and I both thought highly of you." Before Linda could finish, Ethan's face lit up with joy. If he had Linda's support, winning Chloe back would only be a matter of time. But her next sentence sent him crashing back down to earth. "But now, it seems our judgment was wrong. I know my daughter. If she wasn't hurt to the extreme, she wouldn't be so ruthless. Take my advice, don't come looking for Chloe anymore. This place isn't for you." Ethan's lips were pressed into a tight line. "Auntie, why won't you give me a chance? Everyone makes mistakes, don't they? I can promise I will never make the same mistake again. Besides, I really love Chloe. If I can't be with her, my life has no meaning." At his words, Linda's expression hardened. "One day, you'll look back on these words and realize how ridiculous they sound. If I'm not mistaken, when you liked that other girl back then, you also said you would marry no one but her, didn't you?" Ethan blushed and tried to defend himself. "That's different. Those were just the words of a naive kid. I'm an adult now. I know what I'm doing." Linda's eyes narrowed in displeasure. She had wanted to persuade Ethan to leave gently, but he was being stubborn. Her tone unconsciously took on a stern edge. "Do you really know what you're doing? If it weren't for you, Chloe wouldn't have gone through what she did today. What if that girl had held a grudge and brought a knife? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about what kind of situation your selfishness has put Chloe in?" Ethan lowered his head in shame. He knew in his heart that Linda was right, but he just couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept that 6 years of their relationship had just crumbled like this. After a long pause, he looked up at Linda, his eyes red. "I can protect her, Auntie. You can't be with her 24 hours a day. And even if you could, Chloe doesn't need it anymore. Staying away from her is the best way to protect her." Those words suddenly pierced through the fog that had enveloped Ethan, and he saw things clearly. It was all his own wishful thinking. He had never asked Chloe if she needed any of this, and his presence was a source of trouble for her. That was a fact. A few minutes later, Ethan managed to force out a few words. "I know. When she is released, I will take her and leave. I won't let her hurt Chloe again." Linda stood up. "I hope you mean what you say. Don't see me out." Watching Linda's retreating back, Ethan felt as if all his strength had been drained. He collapsed onto the sofa. He stared blankly at the torn and reassembled photos, and the tightly wound string inside him finally snapped. It was all over. Chapter 25. The flower shop had just opened when Ethan appeared at the door again. Chloe was getting tired of his persistence. "Haven't I made myself clear enough? Can you please stop bothering me?" Ethan gave a bitter smile. "I'm not here to bother you. I came to tell you that I'm leaving. Can we have one last meal together before I go?" Chloe was taken aback and said nothing. Seeing her silence, Ethan grew anxious. "It's really just one meal, a final farewell to our 6 years together." Seeing his haggard appearance, a flicker of pity crossed Chloe's heart. "All right." Ethan chose a chain Chinese restaurant. It was the place where they had their first date after they got together. "Do you remember this place?" Chloe nodded. "I remember. It's where we had our first date." Ethan tried to hide his trembling hands under the table. He had expected her to pretend she didn't know or to say she had forgotten. But she admitted it freely, her tone as placid as if she were commenting on the weather. Ethan forced a bitter smile and said no more. When ordering, he once again ordered the green bean cakes and coconut egg custard that Chloe disliked. In fact, on their very first date, Ethan had ordered these two dishes, but he had never noticed that Chloe hadn't taken a single bite. Even after 6 years together, he still didn't know that Chloe never ate sweets. "I ordered this coconut egg custard especially for you. Why haven't you touched it? Not much of an appetite?" Faced with Ethan's question, Chloe just smiled and shook her head. "I don't like sweets." As soon as the words left her mouth, Ethan's expression changed dramatically. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself. He remembered. Chloe had told him more than once that she didn't like sweets, but he always forgot, or perhaps he had never truly paid attention. Ethan's eyes darkened, his voice filled with self-mockery. "Look at me, I can't do anything right. I've even messed up our last meal together." But Chloe just shrugged nonchalantly. "It's okay. It's just one meal." In Chloe's eyes, this meal had no special meaning. After paying the bill, Chloe said a polite goodbye to Ethan at the restaurant entrance. "I have things to do at the shop, so I'll head back now." "Okay, be safe on your trip back to your new city." A fresh wave of bitterness washed over Ethan. Even in her farewell, she was reminding him to leave this place as soon as possible. To reassure her, Ethan forced a smile. "I've already bought a ticket for tomorrow night's flight." After a moment's thought, Chloe finally asked what was on her mind. "I've made things very clear to you. You've moved on, right?" She was tired of being harassed. She was afraid that Ethan would have a change of heart and come back to the north to find her. Ethan understood her underlying meaning. He gave her a relieved smile. "Of course, I've moved on. You have to come to my wedding when I get married." At that, Chloe finally relaxed, her voice unconsciously taking on a cheerful tone. "Okay, I'll definitely be there for your wedding." With that, she turned and left. Ethan stared blankly at Chloe's retreating back. He watched for so long that his eyes began to burn. By the time he realized it, his face was streaked with tears. He murmured to himself, "Of course I haven't moved on from you, but if you have a better choice, then I wish you happiness." As he stood there, a leaf quietly fell at his feet. 6 years ago, they met in early summer. 6 years later, they parted in the height of summer. And so, Ethan Vance was forever trapped in that summer he had shared with Chloe, a season to which he could never return. The end.